Well, hello and welcome to what is possibly a first for you. It's certainly a first for me. A talk delivered not in the church building, but from the study of the curate. A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time of day you are choosing to join me and engage with this thought for Mothering Sunday. Before I begin, I wonder if it would be good to hear our reading from the Bible. It comes from the Old Testament, from the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verses 1 to 10. Now a man from the house of Levi went and married a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a fine baby, she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him, and plastered it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it, and placed it among the reeds on the bank of the river. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, while her attendants walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to bring it. When she opened it, she saw the child. He was crying, and she took pity on him. "This must be one of the Highbridge children," she said. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she took him as her son. She named him Moses, because she said, "I drew him out of the water." Now, Harold Wilson is famous for many things, having been our Prime Minister during some rather testing times, including the rather impressive understatement that a week is a long time in politics. After this week, I would like to commandeer his statement and alter it to suggest that a week is a long time in curacy. Or perhaps, more accurately, 6 months or so of vacancy is a long time in curacy. But maybe the truth is that this last week has been a long time for everybody. Who of us could have imagined how this week would evolve? Yes, we knew that COVID-19 was significant, but the unprecedented measures we've been encouraged to take, including the suspension of all public acts of worship, have impacted the way we live our lives hugely. I'm sharing my thoughts into the screen of my telephone, creating a video recording that you can engage with if you choose. I've struggled to get the angle of the camera correct. Perhaps some of you are getting a view up my nostrils that you'd rather not experience. But I've tried as best I can to replicate and offer something that will be familiar to those of you who are part of our church community. The only thing I don't have at this particular moment in time is a small child scooting up and down an aisle, distracting you all, although I can hear the murmurs of family life coming from downstairs. At a time when our natural inclination is to seek the support and the company of others, we've been instructed to distance ourselves socially from each other in order to protect the most vulnerable in our society. But remember, there is a difference between social distance and social isolation. In fact, perhaps it is preferable to understand social distancing in terms of physical distancing. We are still looking to connect as people and with people, which is why our church buildings are open. We will use our mobile phones for their less common use, not just recording talks, but actually as telephones. We have to think differently about what it means to be connected to one another. And that should and can be exciting and open new opportunities. Our vision statement for St. John the Evangelist Church, Highbridge, says that we believe God is calling us to be a people of courage, sharing God's love across our community. It's interesting that there's no mention of church or building within our vision. Our world, our country, our community, our street certainly needs people of courage right now. We can be people of courage, recognizing our need to be physically distant. Remember, courage is not dismissing the wisdom and guidance of others, but rather modelling a different, perhaps more hope-filled approach to embracing the circumstances that we find ourselves in. There is a lot of fear around, and as Christians we know that God does not remove our fear, but he walks with us through it, reminding us that we are not alone. The challenge of sharing God's love across our community is no different today than it was 2 weeks ago. Yes, physical distance causes us to think differently, but that offers us a challenge and an opportunity rather than a disappointing frustration. There are many, many practical ways we can share God's love across our community at this time. We can do some shopping for a friend or a neighbour if they're unable to leave the house because they're self-isolating. We can pick up the phone and make a phone call. We can send a text message. We can be in touch with one another and support one another. We just need to think a little bit more outside of the box. And as a church, the encouragement and the opportunity to think outside the box is so exciting. Today, the church and the world celebrates Mothering Sunday, Mother's Day. On this day, I myself am very used to visiting my mother and spending time with her. But today, because my dad falls into the vulnerable category and he needs to self-isolate, will not be visiting my parents. So I've had to think carefully about how I might show my love and gratitude to my mum today. I've put her card in the post. Thank you, Royal Mail. Hopefully it has got there. She will receive her gift for Mother's Day at a later date. I'll video call her later so she can see me and her grandchildren. I will thank her for all she does as a mum and a nana verbally. I will hopefully remind her that although I cannot be physically with her, she is loved and appreciated. Sarah and I are parents to 2 beautiful girls, and I found it an amazing privilege to see how Sarah is continually evolving in the role of mum to our 2 girls. When they were babies, really little, Sarah would respond by picking them up and trying to work out what was wrong with them. Sometimes I would too. In those early days, it was really quite difficult to work out exactly what they wanted. Are they hungry? Do they have trapped wind? Do they need to burp? Are they cold? Are they hot? Are they ill? Do they just want a cuddle? And sometimes when your actions don't stop their crying, you feel quite sad and helpless because you love them, care for them, and all you want to do is protect them. And all a mother can do is try to love us, protect us, and care for us. The way that a good mother loves, cares and protects a child shows us something about the love that God has for us. Just like a good mum, God loves us, cares for us and wants to protect us. In our reading this morning, we heard a story about the birth of Moses and how his mother tried to protect him. Moses' sister looked out for him from a distance and brought him back to his mum. And Pharaoh's daughter saw Moses in the river and took him in. Here we have 3 women who all followed their instincts. They all showed the qualities of God in caring for the baby. You don't need to be a mother to show the qualities of a mother. You don't need to be a mother to show the qualities of a mother. Many of these qualities are instinctive, and I believe that they're going to become even more evident in the coming weeks. The love of a mother is never more fully seen than in a crisis. A motherly desire to protect her children from all harm. And how many of us, when we find ourselves in trouble or unwell, just want to be back in the safe and loving arms of a mother? Of our mother. Those, of course, who are unable to have children of their own for various reasons often show the qualities of a mother without actually recognizing those qualities in themselves. That said, let's acknowledge that today is a very hard day for many women. Some have lost children. Some have lost their mother. Some experience strained relationships. Some have chosen not to be mothers. Some are desperate to be mothers. Today can simply magnify that pain. But in the pain, and in the memories, and in the love, God is there with us. The Mother God meets each of us in our experience. All of us, gentlemen included, can show the qualities of a mother. And when we do so, we are revealing to ourselves and others an insight into the character of God. Every person here this morning, listening, or this afternoon, or this evening, or some days later because actually Sunday doesn't work for you. Every single person engaging with this for this day would not be able to be here if it was not for their mother. Our mums give birth to us. They introduce us to the world. So as today we find ways, being socially distant, recognizing self-isolation, to make a fuss of, or to remember our mothers, or those who have taken on that role for us, those painful, painful memories included. Let's try to remember that through the love, protection and care of a good mother, we glimpse something of the perfect love, protection and care that God offers all of us. And that's especially so at a time when we are all so fearful and afraid. Amen. This will not have been the most slick or sophisticated of videos, but I hope that it has been helpful to you in your own walk with God today, and as you engage and embrace Mother's Day, however you are going to do this. As ever, if you have any particular comments, particularly about the filming of this talk, any ways that it could have been improved, then please do offer some comments or feedback, but be gentle. Remember, I'm not a professional at this recording thing. I am not even really, I don't think, a professional preacher. So do offer your feedback with that in mind. And I do hope and pray that your day and your week is full of reminders of God's love for you and those that you love. Stay safe, take care, and God bless.